Today, we're going to talk about the Mirage Man Sahara flashlight, which is a high-end American custom flashlight. Now, if you know American customs, you know that the term is a little bit of a misnomer because custom, you'd think, oh, made to order, right? No, American custom flashlights are basically maker's choice. They make what they want to make and you buy it or not. So in fact, that includes the emitter and the shape, the driver, all of that. It's just they make it, table price, buy it or not. Now, there's a guy, Brian Steves, Mirage Man, that's his name, Brian Steves, and Mirage Man, he brings the custom to custom flashlights. Welcome back to Shul Lights. I'm so happy to be able to talk about this light. This guy, Brian, he's been around for a long time. He actually had a hiatus. So he was there with David Livingston and these other guys at the beginning of the American customs revolution. You know, Don McGizmo, Don McLesh. He knows all those guys. And he was making lights back then. Well, he just recently kind of retired and is making flashlights full time. And he makes them all by hand on a manual lathe. It is perfect. Now, there's a couple guys that do this, that don't use CNC. There's a couple guys that use manual lathes, like Devin Bauer of Sigma flashlights. He's a guy that comes to mind. And honestly, you know, if you've been waiting to get a Sigma, Devin has actually, he'd made less and less lights, and it's been ages since he made a light in titanium. He's mostly doing bronze and brass and stuff like that. And then recently he announced to his Facebook group that he's actually stepping down even more. So, yeah, if you've been looking for a Sigma, ain't gonna happen, right? Well, here comes Mirage Man, which I think is like the Sigma replacement, only from the standpoint that you can order a flashlight and get it in just a month or two. You'd have to wait years, and you don't have to, cough up a kidney. So this guy is truly custom, as I said, meaning that you can literally say, I want trit slots here, I want this, and he'll make it for you. Now, it's a manual lathe, so you're going to get stuff that looks like this. Now, first off, let me start with, this is a Sigma here. This is a Devin Bauer Sigma. I want to tell you, I'm just get a baseline here for why I like this so much. So this is a aluminum bronze Sigma from Devin Bauer. And I just want to point out that it's done on a manual lathe and the details are just impeccable. Everything is to such tight tolerances. This is what has made Sigma flashlights so well known. And notice that the head and the body here, you can't even see a seam because it is so precisely made that when I loosen it here, you can see that seam start to appear right there. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Now, I talked to Brian Steves about this. I'm going to show his light in a moment here. But, he was like, oh, that's easy to do. Yeah, easy for him, right? You know what I mean? So, first off, let me, before I show his Sahara, this video is about the Sahara. I'm going to show another light that he made, the A2 head here. And this is an eSeries head. So he did the head here. And this is a double A body from Don McLesh, McGizmo. And what's great about the eSeries is, they're all compatible with each other. So I'll take this off, right? And here is a 14500 body. This is for the Haiku. And you can see that it fits right on there like so. Now, this head might not look like much to you. You might go, oh, it's just a cylinder. No. This head is amazing. Let me show you something here. This head has a bezel. See the bezel seam? Can you barely see it? Hang on. Let's get there. There it is. See that little tiny line in there? There's a little bezel seam. This crenulate bezel unscrews to get the MCR 20 in there. And this is an MCR 20. The vaunted, beautiful reflector everybody wants. And you can see how perfectly it fits in there. Comes right up to the sidewalls like it should. Everything was just perfectly made for it. And Brian now makes his own engines for these A2 series, or A2 heads, I should say. At the time that I bought this, he was just getting back into it, and he didn't. So this is a Tana engine from Tana over in Europe. This is the engine that you often find in haikus if you don't want the Hive engine that McLesh is putting in there. But anyways, so that's a Tana engine. But, you know, Brian Steves, Mirage Man, he now makes these engines for eSeries. So you get yourself a 17 millimeter board in there. And, you know, this is a really small head because it's eSeries, right? So this was the first thing I ever bought from Brian Steves. You can see there's a Fireflies emitter in there. And you can just see how beautiful and gorgeous the machining is. You can see that everything is just immaculate, perfect, incredible tolerances. As I said, I mean, the seam just vanishes on there. The threads are amazing. There's some Nio-Gel on there, but I mean, the threads are just like butter. Sometimes you go to screw the titanium together and it feels kind of grindy and you can feel like the titanium grain, but the threads are just completely smooth. So that's his A2 head. Now let's get to the star of the show, which is the Sahara. Now, why is the Sahara such like an amazing light, in my opinion? Well, if you're going to go and buy a custom light from him, and I did say he makes all these custom lights. So I'm here in the Mirage Man Facebook group, and you can see here's a selection of Mirage Man lights that Marco has, and you can see that they all look different. You can see they all have different patterns going on here. They again, you know, this is by hand, completely by hand from Brian on a manual lathe. So all the cuts are going to have to be, you know, what a manual lathe can do. So you're not going to find any, you know, total Tesseract Hanko style cutting because there's no milling going on here. But you can see that each one of these looks different. And so you can absolutely order to spec what you want from him. Here's another example of a light that Brian just put up for Lotto. And you can see this one has trit slots all the way across it, and it's pre-filled. This is titanium. I know it's got kind of a golden hue to it, but that's titanium. And you can see that all his lights are just absolutely gorgeous, and they all look a little different. See, this one doesn't have the slots down here, but does have it up here. So, as I said, completely custom light. Now, what's the Sahara? Well, it's a ready-made light that he can make quicker than some of his other customs because he knows what he's doing, and he can just kind of, you know, make the heads and the bodies and make several at a time so he can bring the cost down. These other lights are $1,000 or more, but the Sahara is like $675. I don't quote me, talk to him, but it's in that $600 range. And here it is right now. So here's the Sahara. It is gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, wow. Just the way the light bounces off it, the finish. And as I said, it is completely handmade. I know I keep saying that, but it shows when you get it. And you'll also notice that this light right here has that same thing that I love so much, where there's an invisible seam. Now, I'm going to tell you something here, because I think it's important to understand this when you're getting into his lights. The Sahara does not have an invisible seam. Typically, there's going to be a line right here, okay? And when I unscrew this, you're going to see the seam appear. The reason why this one's invisible is because I purchased the Sahara and then said, can you make me an invisible seam? And he said, okay. And then it costs a little bit more. So, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is the Sahara here is a base model that you can get into for a great price. If you want to go custom, it's going to cost more and you need to talk to him. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to, I am just trying to explain two things at once. I'm trying to explain that the Sahara is this light that is less expensive than the Sigmas, and honestly, not that much more expensive than like an Okluma DC1 like this. I mean, this is an aluminum DC1, but I've got a titanium one on the shelf over there. And these guys are in titanium, $550. So my thought is, you know, is it worth $125 more to get into a Mirage Man light? And the answer is absolutely. And the reason why I say that is if you look on the DC ones, and there's nothing against DC ones because they're a lot of bang for your buck, but there's a couple things going on here. Notice that right here, when you take your fingernail and you go across it, you'll notice that there's some spots where the head protrudes further than the body. It's not exactly the same, diameter as the shoulder to the body. So the head is a little bigger. But also I want to point out that at some points of it, it's almost, let's see if I can get this on camera. There we go. You can almost see, it's really hard to see, but right there, you can see that the head is definitely comes out thicker than the body, but on the other side, it's almost even. So what that means is that the threads in the head aren't completely concentric to the threads on the body. Now, should that matter to you? Probably not, especially if you want to save some money and go with the Nokluma DC-1 for $450. However, if high-level precision really does it for you, and it does it for me, you're not going to find anything like that on the Mirage Man. I mean, as I said, you can't even see the seam here. Now, as the Sahara at the $675-ish price will have a seam there, and that's not without, some positives. Because for one thing, when I take this light apart and reveal that seam, it's sharp. It's sharp right there. So you don't want to touch that unless it's closed. So I guess I'm getting a little rambly, but the fact of the matter is we're talking about custom lights here. And what I'm trying to tell you is this exact light for $650, in my opinion, is the Sigma replacement. Okay? Can't even get these things. And even getting them into titanium was just like nigh on impossible. Now here comes Mirage Man. You can get yours ordered and you can receive it in about a month or so, maybe a couple months, depending on his workload. But it's going to have much higher tolerances than a DC-1, and it's not that much more expensive. So I think, it's just win-win-win as far as I see it. Also, I just like the design better. That's just me. Some people really are into knurling, and you saw in the pictures on the website that Mirage Man will do more knurling. However, I like this so much better. So that is a win for me. Another thing I really like is you see the shoulder here, how big the shoulder is on the DC-1, this part that mates to the head. You can see that even if you had a seam here, you can see that the shoulder is much thinner. I think it's a better look. Also on the back here, notice how there's this flat area around the tail switch. I like that more aesthetically than what's going on with the DC-1. I just think this looks nicer. Another thing I'm going to point out too is if I take the DC-1 here, this is not the original boot, but I put a glow-in-the-dark boot in. But I want to tell you that even if it was the original boot, the boot is not exactly even with the rim here. It goes in a little bit. That's not a bad thing. I mean, that means it'll tail stand, right? But what it does mean is, well, let me show you over here. Let me get this on camera. You see how you can see the boot right there? Watch this. Still see it. You can still see it, and gone. That boot does not protrude. It's not proud at all, but it is completely in line with the light. That's the kind of attention. I mean, listen. Brian Steves might not like me saying this, but this guy probably has a level of OCD that is really good for us, the consumer, and really bad for him. He's the kind of guy that if he makes something and it doesn't come out just perfect, he's going to scrap it and start over. And that's what you're paying for. So, anyways, I guess I just wanted to bring attention this old but new maker. He's new in the fact that he hasn't been on the scene for a while, and he just started making lights just this, last year. And but he was there at the start with all of them, and he's making lights now. And I cannot say enough good things about the Mirage Man Sahara here, this ready-made light. And as I said, if you want to get yourself a Sahara, they're made to be inexpensive. If you want something slightly different, you can give him the specs and he'll price it out for you. Like for example, I don't know what trit slots are, I'm not going to quote his amounts, but I know that you could get a Sahara and put trit slots in them. Why do I know that? Because that's what we just saw on his website over here. This was his lotto, about a couple weeks ago, and you can see it's a Sahara with trit slots, and there's the gap I was talking about, but that won't cut you, so that's nice. And you can see that it's 1,095, which, I mean, when you think about the fact that he has to mill each one of these slots and then populate it with tritium, you can't even get tritium, right? It's illegal in the United States, at least to import it. Once you have it, you can have it. Nobody's going to arrest you or anything. But it's illegal to import because of the fact that it comes as nuclear waste runoff, nuclear reactor, not runoff. That's not the right term, but it's nuclear reactor waste that they use. And so, it's one of those things where, each one of these vials could cost $10 to $20. So you could see that when you take a Sahara like this and you get, mill out those slots and then populate it, he's coming in at $1,095, which is a really great price because I see Sigmas without tritium slots or anything going for like $1,200, $1,500. Again, I'm not trying to convert anybody. This video is not, there's somebody out there that loves Convoy, or there's somebody that's got a bunch of O-lights and they're watching this video and they're just like looking at me and going like, why would you spend $1,000 on a flashlight? Well, it's jewelry, right? It's just, if you're really in deep like I am, you got all this kind of stuff. Sometimes you're looking for that perfect light, the one that's just made perfectly. And I never got into chasing Sigmas. I've only got the one. Mostly because I saw the price going up, as Devin made less and less and less, and people couldn't get them. So, supply and demand. But the fact of the matter is that I'm glad that I didn't get into Sigmas, and I don't think we have to worry. There's not a vacuum now, because here's Mirage Man to fill that vacuum. So forgive me if I don't go with a bunch of beam shots or things like that, because, I mean, again, it's such a custom light that, what emitter you put in there is going to affect the throw and the lumens. You can see that in my light, I'm running the Firefly's FFL 351A, and this is with the 5000K version. What a great light. And you can see that there is a custom brass centering ring for that MCR 20. I will flick back to here and just why not show you that the beam is just very throwy. You can see it's very confined, and it's beautiful. It's got a really well-defined hot spot. Not razor defined like a haiku, but it doesn't have any flares or any artifacts. And, it's got a nice wide spill that goes all the way out. So it's most of the light is right here in the middle, but then there's usable spill, all the way out to the sides here. So just a beautiful, beautiful reflector. And, this guy, he makes his own centering rings, and so he's going to get it perfect for you. So if you want perfection, Mirage Man, that's where it is. Be sure to join his Facebook group and then send Brian Steves a message here, and get your custom light made. Or if you want to wait for a lotto, he's been doing lottos like one every week, and go ahead and go in on that. But again, I think that this is the guy we need right now, especially since Devin Bauer kind of stopped making as many lights. He didn't say he stopped, but his amount of lights went way down, and then he said that he was taking a break. So, this is an amazing light, and if you want to step in to the higher echelon of handmade American lights. You can't do any better than this guy. This is the best machining I've seen. And again, you know, there's just something to be said about an American-made light by an American artisan, handmade, completely handmade. By the way, shifting gears here, if you've watched this far in my video, you're hardcore. I mean, I just talked about custom lights for about 20 minutes. So what I think is I should give you away a light. That's right. Comment below the video, say that you're in for an Arkfeld. Let me get it. Hang on. Let me get it. I'll show you the exact one. Here you go. Arkfeld Ultra. And look at this. What is that? Channel logo. So I will send you this. No box. I just have the light, but it's brand new. This is with the new Olight aluminum material they're using, and it's got the UV, the laser, and the cool white emitter. I'll send you this and the charging cable, and I'll randomly pick next week, okay? So I'm going to release a video about, I think, this Claris here. And when I release it, I will, I'll announce the winner, okay? And I'll send this off. Now, if you're in the US, no problem. I'm covering the shipping. If you're out of the US, then we're going to have to talk, okay? I just cannot afford to send you this light and pay for the $70 to Australia or whatever's going on. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next review.